My name is Rich Leopold, and I'm currently Director for Polk County Conservation Board. Polk County Conservation, this is about 6 years ago. We were having discussions about water quality and what impact we could have. And of course, if you're going to have an impact on something, you have to have a baseline. You have to know where you're at to start with. I knew that the DNR were cutting back efforts. They're a victim of a lot of budget cuts over the years, so they're cutting back. So I looked at staff within Polk County Conservation, and we had over 20 people trained in Water, a program I actually used to run that does water monitoring, mostly physical and chemical characteristics, and also a little bit of biological. So I thought, let's start with our staff. And we just took, those 20-some staff members and put them out on local streams and rivers. And then eventually we incorporated other cities. I think we have like 6 other cities now that has city staff that are participating with us. And then what I call super volunteers. So volunteers that are really dedicated. We'll give, a day, twice a month, year-round to water monitoring. We've got some of those out there too. So now I believe we do 76 sites or something like that across the county. Probably the most extensive database of water monitoring that Polk County has ever had. Now that we have 5 years running of active data, we can start to look for trends. So we can see in an area, and if there are certain activities happening in that area, whether it be development or storm sewer, we can see, is the water getting worse? Is the water getting better over time? It's the same thing like with remediation. So we have now the 4-mile Greenway, working with the city of Des Moines because of the flooding 3 years ago, doing a number of buyouts, almost 300 buyouts of homeowners, taking down the homes and restoring the riparian corridor, water's edge corridor. Well, as we do that, we would hopefully see better water quality trends over time. So monitoring things like that. We can also do site comparisons. So you have Walnut Creek and you have Beaver Creek, and they're fairly similar, close to each other. If Walnut Creek has higher pollutants than Beaver Creek does, that says something. Or if there are certain actions that take place in Walnut Creek and it gets cleaner than Beaver Creek, that says something too. So what we're doing right now is analyzing a lot of this ongoing data to see if we can see mostly ecological trends and see if we can make things better or worse. Well, I'm very much a boots on the ground kind of guy. So it's like, so what? What are you going to do with it? That's the good question. So for us, it's going to be evaluating our water quality practices. So if we have certain things that we do and they work really well, and we're able to see reflected in the data that they work well, we'll do more of them. If we're doing some things that we believe are improving water quality, but they're not, stop doing that and do more of that other thing. It seems very elemental, but it's amazing. Here we are 2021, and how much we don't know about how these natural systems function. And of course, with all the impacts to those, whether it be agricultural and subsurface drainage patterns, the hydrologic changes we've made to the channels themselves, stormwater flows, different things coming into them, whether it be chlorides or petroleums or bacteria or whatever, there's still a lot of things that we don't know. So once we discover things, then we can operationalize it. We can build it into our management plans. We do monitoring on Yater Creek, which leads into Easter Lake. It's the source of water for Easter Lake. We've of course spent a ton of time and a ton of money cleaning up Easter Lake, and it's awesome. I think it's probably one of the cleanest lakes in the state now. Yater Creek sources it. We have a vested interest making sure Yater Creek is good. Yater Creek is high in chlorides. We've been seeing that consistently. Now normally chlorides in the water is usually after snow melts. It's the de-icing salts that we use on the road that are washing in. But we're seeing persistent and chronic high chloride levels in Yater Creek. Why? So now that we know that Yater is high in chlorides, we can start looking at location. So, Yater Creek starts at the airport, goes clear across the south side of town, and empties into Easter Lake. Is it new? We're starting to investigate some of those things, and you have to do that by doing more spot sampling. So you might go out into Yater Creek, we haven't done this yet, but we've talked about it, and set up 20 monitoring spots in one single day and pull the data, because then you'd be able to more localize, visualize where that's coming from, and then hopefully find more of a sourcing. When you're looking at agricultural runoff, it's a much more complicated picture. Can we make constructed wetlands or oxbows? Is it a matter of farming practices and we need some type of bioretention or bioswales, or is it a matter of speed? You know, when you look at the hydrologic manipulation, so it used to be curved, now it's straight. Because of that, you get the down cutting, and when that happens, then you get a 5-10 foot cliff going in, and then that continues to fall in, and it's a major source of pollution. Is there something we can do there? You know, all of it speaks to time and money, but I think we're learning a lot, and I think we're doing good in what we've done, and we're prepared to do a lot more. Basic support is just supporting natural resources work. So, you know, I work for a county conservation board. Our funding comes through the Board of Supervisors. I think we're pretty well received in Polk County, and the Polk County Board of Supervisors has been good as far as giving us time, energy, money, people to do our job. On the state level, this is Department of Natural Resources or the Soil and Water Conservation Districts and things like that. Those are where the experts lie. And first we need the people that know how to know, the scientists and the technicians and the practitioners, but then we need the money to make these things happen. So, you know, whether it's an industry, a city, or a farmer, sometimes you need help with initial capital expenses. So we wouldn't expect a factory or a city to build everything all themselves and then charge it back. A lot of times there's incentive type programs. So I am a believer in cost shares and incentive type programs, not forever, but to prime the pump. So sometimes we need to work with agricultural partners to institute some of these practices and clean up the water.